very competitive.
Call the meeting to order, the Oxford Downtown Development Authority, June 16th, 2025. All rise and please be respectful of the flag. Where's the flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. We have roll call, please.
Sure. Scott Taylor,
Yes.
Jay Choi, Jacob Nicosia,
Here.
Ashley Ross,
Here.
Marie Powers, absent, Rod Charles,
Yes.
Pete Schultz,
Yes.
Melissa Cornelius,
Yes.
and Holly Pfeiffer, here.
Hi, Melanie.
Yes, sir.
When we do the attendance, so we have in our bylaws, if you miss 3 meetings, you're out, do we record them as quote-unquote approved, or how do we handle that? Does someone know?
My understanding is if there's been like a heads up, then that was considered approved and wouldn't be considered an absence per se to get kicked off.
So I know Marie had sent an email out asking to, okay, just,
Okay, any public comment on non-agenda items? Seeing none. The next item, agenda 5, consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda items A, B, C, and D.
I'll second that.
Moved by Ross, second by Charles. Is there any other questions on our additions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. Financials.
Motion to approve financials, A and B, with bills in the amount for May of 2025 in the amount of $40,892.71.
I'll second that. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Moving along.
Motion by Nicosia, support by
Taylor.
Taylor. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Pete Schultz,
Yes.
Rod Charles.
Yes.
Ashley Ross,
Yes.
Jacob Nicosia,
Yes.
Holly Pfeiffer, yes. Scott Taylor,
Yes.
Jay Choi,
Yes.
Melissa Cornelius.
Yes.
DDA reports, board committee report? Charles, you want to do that?
Kimberly, why don't you handle it? I was sick, but
Oh,
actually,
yeah.
that one I missed, or maybe Ashley would, because my stepdad passed away, I missed that meeting.
We met, we did not have a super formal agenda. Everything has been running smoothly. Kimberly gave us some updates on what has been going on in the district. We touched base just briefly about, well, I think we're at 6 months, 7 months with Kimberly, how everything's going, and all is well right now.
Well, that was as of the other.
Yes.
Actually, it's better today, so that's good.
Thank you. EV committee report, they did not meet this month. So we'll move on to the promotional committee report.
Okay, well, we had a meeting and we kind of just went over the upcoming concerts. They are starting this week. The open air markets. Each week we're with the volunteers and that we're going to be emailing them out, giving them updates on what to do and what to expect on Monday or Tuesday. And with the dancing, no, we're good. It's a go. Okay, good. So we got enough people signed up that that's a go now. And the cornhole is filling up and closed. It's all full. Okay.
And when does that start?
Wednesday.
This Wednesday?
The dancing starts tomorrow, cornhole Wednesday, concerts Thursday.
Nice.
Right? Yeah. Question, who's doing the dance instruction?
I believe it's the same gentleman from last year. Yeah.
We did talk about potential different, so what happened was we were not getting the numbers that we were looking for. And so up until yesterday, actually, we were under the impression that we were gonna have to cancel it. And then a bunch of people kind of came in last minute because we were doing some promo. But when we were talking in promo meeting last week, there were a couple other recommendations recommendations for dancers, instructors. So next time we'll definitely cast that net a little wider. I think just from a convenience standpoint, we did it the same person.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Good.
Because I think another one would be a good choice.
Any other questions on that? Good. Design committee report.
I think that would probably be me. No one else was there, right?
I was there, but I was a guest.
Oh, were you? Okay.
I was there, yeah.
No, were you? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, geez, we did go over quite a bit. Let's see, where the planter boxes, where the Christmas trees are. We have a proposal for that to be done, so it looks like boxwood, and that way it can be maybe backlit with some lights to make it pretty and stuff, and or ornaments during the year, but it should be a little more durable and look a little nicer than what the trees just didn't hold up that are there. What did we do? We found some picnic tables that were within the budget that we're replacing some that are missing or
Well,
broken or.
Yeah, so what happened was we had missing, but we think potentially at least one of those has been thrown away because it was broken.
Mhm.
So what we were trying to do is just utilize the picnic tables that were already out there, but what we found is they were not intended to be used with an umbrella. And so it's not working. The umbrellas are not staying up, they're, kind of stretching the hole that was created in the plastic. So we, actually found some very budget-friendly, but commercial grade, options for us. They were delivered today, so they should be in, Washington Square within the next couple days.
They don't work,
Very
keep my
good.
name off
Awesome.
the record.
Yes, understood. And just one quick thing before we move on, for the boxwood suggestion, there are numbers here on page 3 of the design committee's meeting minutes. This is how much it would cost to go forward with that project. I don't know that we need to vote on it necessarily tonight, but I would like just feedback generally. It was a little bit higher than I think anyone was anticipating for the costs, and I think the reason for that was it's a commercial grade wrapping of boxwood, which would, in theory, withstand the weather and the wind a little bit better. But of course, we're gonna have to pay for that if we're gonna do it.
Right. Are you looking for feedback right now, Kimberly?
Yes.
I mean, based on what you were saying, it seems like it would work because we want something a little bit more substantial. I mean, what's your advice to the board?
Well, here's my concern, is that was a project created last summer,
Right.
and they have not really moved in a year, even with the trees in there. And so I wasn't involved in the original project planning portion, but my understanding is that the intent was to help kind of muffle the sound
Right.
from 24, provide some privacy. I don't know if that's still something that everyone feels strongly about doing and having. The planter boxes were very expensive. I think we have to the idea of moving them consistently does not appeal to me. They're very, very heavy. My thought is once we get them and we put them somewhere, they're gonna stay there. So if everybody feels good about that, that's great, but we also have to remember, yes, it will give privacy, it will perhaps cut down on the wind a bit, but is that gonna then take away some of the visibility from 24, which then entices people to just drop in? And I have to weigh those pros and cons.
And I also think anything that's sitting next to that road, I'm sorry,
Yep, go ahead.
anything that's sitting next to that road is not gonna do well. When you're talking about wind, salt, cars, I mean, so.
Well, on these, going back to what Scott said, I agree there's a lot of things that go on there, but are they designed to put up with the elements that Mr. Taylor just described, or not? I mean, I understand how big they are, and heavy and hard to move, but then we always been hearing ever since we set up Washington Square that it's the traffic, the dust, the noise, especially the zooming of the big heavy trucks. So we're kind of caught between two things here, you know?
I can't speak to if it's really gonna cut down on the noise. I don't know the answer to that. I think, from my understanding, what Scott was sharing is that it should be sturdy enough to not have a problem breaking. So if that is something that we want to do to kind of create more of a barrier between the sidewalk and into Washington Square, that's great. But I just, again, we're trying to minimize the things that we have to move twice a week, every week during the summer.
Question on it, if we go through all this and put big box with stuff around and do everything, is it the intent then that they would all be moved to create the barrier along 24, but it would have to be on the inside of the?
Yeah, we
So
would
you
have.
still get all that space behind it kind of thing?
Yeah, the idea, from my understanding, again, we haven't delved too deeply into it, but my understanding, like where those rocks are right now, we would kind of clear some space and put those in there and have the rocks kind of surrounding it, and once they're there, that's where they're gonna live.
And then my second question, as far as people driving by and trying to see into it, they're not gonna be able to drive by and see, what's going on or what event is in there, or even the people playing cornhole or doing or dancing or doing anything, so we're kind of double whammy in both ways.
Yeah.
The other question is, last year there was a bunch of big flower pots and stuff on the wall out front, and I don't see them there this year,
Correct.
which, it definitely made the place look nice and do everything, but again, even that comes, like block a little noise or do whatever too.
I will say we did have some challenges with those staying stationary there. Over the last couple years, we tried a multitude of items to try and get the pots to actually stay. So that was a little bit of a challenge, and I think one disappeared at one point. We can put something there, certainly. That would be an alternative option.
Right?
I just want to come back on these things, I understand what you're saying about moving these things around, because I remember when I was putting some things up there 2 years ago, it was a pain in the neck, but would we just move them once a season? Or I don't understand how often we'd have to move them. I like the idea of
Yeah.
kind of some sound protection, but I understand about the noise, because I busted my back a couple times doing
Yeah.
this stuff.
I'm not clear as to what additional intent the project was hoping to create other than sound, minimizing of the space. I know we did talk a little bit about decorating it over the holidays, so we certainly can move them once or twice a year. It's just not something I'd wanna do weekly. I think there was also some conversation around potentially having them within the square, but then during the summer with the heat, it kind of puts divots into the asphalt. So that kind of was not really a great choice. So I don't know where else they would go, other than the perimeter.
Because right now, they're actually sitting up on that curb sidewalk, so it's gonna take a few people in order to get them off of there in the first place to be able to move.
Yeah. And we would have to do some cleaning and like leveling of that space where they would go.
What's the board's thoughts? Do we recommend spending the money to do this, or not do it, or what?
I don't think we should scrap them, so I think that we should make them usable, and if we can do it, this is probably more than you wanted to spend, but it doesn't seem too bad as far as overall to make them usable and durable, and we're gonna get a couple more years out of them, and then perhaps after. Because to me, the question is, do we reinforce them or do we throw them away? Right, like that's the question.
I mean, there could be other alternatives. I mean, we could do something lower. It wouldn't solve the sound problem though. Like if we wanted to make them planters for flowers, obviously that would be shorter. We could have the same kind of idea and kind of just put it there, for a visual appeal if we don't wanna be spending, $2,500. But again, I'm not clear as to if there was more in that project outside of just the sound.
It would also be a nice backdrop for like photos and stuff when people are out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Cause they're a little bit taller.
You know,
If we put the lights in there and stuff, it would attract people like, oh, let's take a picture, get together. I don't know.
We could get a neon sign that said something.
Yeah,
Welcome to Woodland
Washington
Forest.
Square or,
Kimberly, you currently have money in the budget that would cover it?
Correct.
So then at this point, I would say, my recommendation would then would be just go ahead and do it.
I would agree.
Anybody else?
It's only
I agree.
Sonic? Whatever.
Budget items, you're good to go.
We're good.
Do we need to do?
Should we
a
vote
motion?
on it, or what do you?
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, it's money, so we technically have to vote since it's all money. If that's a recommendation, I don't.
Is that roll call then?
Yes.
Okay, Scott Taylor,
Yes.
Jay Choi,
Yes.
Melissa Cornelius,
Yes.
Jacob Nicosia,
Yes.
Ashley Ross,
No,
Rod Charles,
Yes.
Pete Schultz,
Yes,
Holly Piper, yes.
there you go.
Not to be nitpicky, but do we have an actual motion that you guys just voted on?
Pete did.
I did.
Okay, to pay, okay. Who seconded?
Scott.
Okay.
There was one other topic that we went over quite extensively in the design, or in the design committee, was the waste receptacles and the benches, whether or not we were going to repair what we have and, or purchase new. We're looking into both options still. We're hoping to get another quote or two for the refurbishing them, and then we're on the hunt for possibly just purchasing new ones, just because it was less expensive.
That's right. Holly, on that note with the benches, I mean, we go through this frequently, right, every couple of years because of the deterioration. Is there a huge difference between brand new ones versus all the hassle of sandblasting and all the baloney that goes on with refurbishing? I mean, is it worth the hassle versus saving $5 or whatever the dollar amount is?
For what, purchasing new or?
Purchasing new versus
Mhm.
having the existing ones.
Yeah, I don't recall what the difference was for the benches.
Yeah, I think for the benches, it was a little bit more, we're looking at a little bit more, there's a couple $100 difference per. With the trash cans, we could get them at or below, slightly below what we would have to pay. That being said, we only have one quote, so we've reached out to other businesses to try and get additional quotes for that and see if that's, market value for that process.
Are we talking about the benches through the whole town or just?
Just on 24, I think. Yeah.
The trash cans and the benches on 24 were part of the project. So now it's been 5 years, correct, Joe? Yeah, so we've gotten 5 years out of them without having to do anything to them.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, again, if we replace it with something, I would hope that we would at least get the exact same thing another 5 years out of the next one, because otherwise if we end up with only 2 years or 3 years, then we didn't accomplish anything.
Right.
We're looking at a composite option that's got a 50-year warranty or durability expectancy. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
or the metal and just refinishing it.
Yeah, we would have to look into the small print on that and see what they would exactly cover, if it's just a warranty of their product, or if that includes wear and tear and weather and whatnot.
Right.
2 points. One of the composites, I know some of the composites, they'll warranty the product, but the oxidization, the bleaching, the color, et cetera, sometimes they don't warrant that. So there's your fine point, Kimberly. What's the total dollar amount between new versus doing a rehab?
So we did not, as a committee, they did not select a bench or trash can that they wanted to move forward with, because they wanted to table it until next month and get more information, get additional quotes, and then be able to look at the catalogs again. But I can tell you that the quote that we got from the local organization is about $15,000 to $16,000
The
to do
difference?
all, pardon me?
The difference?
No, the total.
What's the difference between refurbishing versus buying new?
Well, that's what I'm saying, I can't give you that answer because they have not selected.
They only got
item.
one.
Well, they don't have an item to compare it to
Oh,
yet.
okay,
Yeah,
all right. Yeah, because to me, that would be the
Right.
deciding factor. If it's not a large amount, then I say, to Pete's point, we paid whatever, we got as part of the project. It lasted 5 years, so if it's a little bit of money, then
yeah, and we
Get
can
new
provide
ones.
that next month, if the committee comes together with a decision or a recommendation, we can have that contrast for you.
Joe, do you have in the records the brand or model, whatever that was specified in the approximate
I
cost?
believe so, I think Don Bradley
Or vendor, whatever?
got a lot of those flyer things for like the ends of the surrounding tree grates and stuff like that, because we've had to replace those, hydrants, and poles, maybe a bench or two, you know, I don't call it bench specifically, but we have a lot of the flyer context, as you know, a lot of that was state funding and it was,
Yes.
had to be made in America. Some of those things are pretty expensive, they're high grade steel stuff. I think we have contacts and sources for most, if not all those amenities.
Okay, and that would give us a comparison kind of thing to it too.
Yeah, so,
If I remember correctly, Rudy sent something about the bench when we had a business owner that was interested in getting a new bench in their space. And it was 1,500, I wanna say, per bench, when it was purchased.
Sounds about right. And those tables that were initially at the corner, you know, that were meshed, people thought, oh, they're kind of lightweight, but they were quite heavy, the chairs, 4 chairs and those tables, they were quite heavy duty, because they're out in public and stuff.
Right.
They were not inexpensive either,
Mhm.
but again, they had certain standards, NDOT was applying, made in America, US Steel.
So we should probably make sure that we're comparing apples to apples on that, because you could probably buy a Trex bench for $500 or $600, but you're definitely not gonna get the same look that you get with those model ones, but, I mean, either way.
Keep in mind, the benches and trash cans that were pre-existing before the M24 project were all taken off, and they were sent out to a company to sandblast them and paint here in town. And those were the ones that are all behind the buildings. And now I understand that the paint is starting to peel off of those also, so I think it's a 5-year time expectancy on those two of the ones that were, but they didn't have the 2-layer process of priming and painting as far as what we're looking at now this time with the priming and powder coating on it, so.
Yeah, I think the ones behind our shop still look okay, but, yeah, that was like as soon as, those have been there 4 years, because as soon as they came in, when we started the car shows, I asked if we could get those back there. So, they're definitely used.
Oh, yeah. Anything else?
We did have Ashley as a visitor. Do you want to talk about that, or?
is it
Yes,
Yeah.
she came and visited and as a guest speaker,
stalker?
yeah.
Yes, so coming out of the Home and History Subcommittee, we have some didactics or just labels for 7 of the buildings around town that are historic in nature. So Home and History has finalized the text in conjunction with the museum as well as the historic photos. And so we took it to Design Committee to ask for help actually designing, getting quotes, asking business owners, you know, can we put something on your building? And so it's with Design Committee now to kind of get that next mock-up and go from there, which we thought was a better fit as opposed to Home and History folks designing everything and doing that aspect of it.
Very good. Okay. And then that's it?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. Then the next we move right into that would be the Home and History Subcommittee.
Perfect. Okay, so we are at a stage with Home and History of getting stuff done. So didactics are now with Design Committee. The historic marker, I am waiting on one last bit of feedback. I emailed the state of Michigan, my contact there, just to make sure everything looks good before submitting, and then we just need signatures from the village who approved everything at their last meeting, as well as our signature for the DDA as well, which I think is just gonna be me, cause it's whoever's the direct contact, and it wouldn't make sense to have everything come to you.
I'm so good with that.
So, once, I'm giving them a little bit more time at the state just to respond, and we'll go from there, but we've got feedback from the Historic Commission. Things are moving forward well, and we have approval to use the funds to apply, and for the marker, if we're selected, as well as, some contingency funding, we can go back and ask for as well. Rod, do you wanna give mural and places tour update?
Sure. First of all, I compliment Ashley. As I told you, I've been otherwise engaged, whatnot, out of action the last few weeks here, and she's really done a great job and all that thing, so I think the entire board or community should appreciate what you've done, actually. I think it wouldn't have moved as far as it has without your effort and energy. So on the building owner, I actually, as current as today, I spoke with the building owner where the Tunstead Hardware was. Because there were some issues about paint on the brick, the soft brick. So Ashley here again was able to help us with that, plus I discussed it with Ron Campbell, who works for Oakland County. That's Ron's, his job at the county is to work on historic projects, so we were looking at permeable paint, and then Ashley brought up some issues about the fact that we don't have to cover the entire wall, so there would be some breathability with that old soft brick that's used in a lot of these buildings, so we're moving forward. The building owner has some issues coming up. We've got a meeting planned, not this week, but the next week. I wanna lock it down. I also spoke with one of the owners of the building adjacent to it. They're justifiably concerned about if we get up on the roof and someone pokes a hole in the roof. So we might have to come up with some kind of a waiver that says something that, we'll treat it respectfully, so don't pop through the ceiling, Plus, as you know, that building is now unoccupied. And that's it as far as that goes. I will bring up one thing we're doing a test run on the welcome tour. I have to check with Bradford Jacobson. It's tentatively scheduled for June 23 and June 24th. It's a test run. So I think it should be kind of fun to do. We budgeted about an hour and 45 minutes or so to do that. And Brad and I drove around my car 2 different times to get a rough idea of how long it would take and what we talk about, et cetera, et cetera. So kind of excited about that, a lot of interest. The only downside there is the NOTA bus. Last time we had to cancel because the bus they couldn't find a driver, so we had to cancel, and the bus only holds 10 people. So we're not gonna have a huge crowd at this point. Kimberly?
How are you soliciting people to be in this tour?
Well, some of the people that have been involved, like I mentioned to Jay and some other people,
Okay, we're still piloting, so we're not ready to full on it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's, that's a good word, it's more
Yeah.
piloting.
So after the
Test run.
23rd, 24th, we'll know more. So we've had some discussions for the Village 150th and America 250, making next year kind of a year-long celebration. So between the markers, the mural, the time capsule that we have to find out where it is, unless you already know, Joe.
One in the park, the one in the city, right?
Sure.
It's next door, right?
Really trying to stretch out using some of the DDA events that are already existing to celebrate that history part. I think even with the Oakland County presentation of Main Street accreditation, that history is a big part, and so I think this is really showing that yes, we are doing these things. And then the very last thing, this is preliminary. Leslie Pilek and I have been having discussions about the museum building, which the village owns, but just to make sure we're doing right with preservation and it's within our district. I went out there and looked at it, she went out there and looked at it, and so we have put some recommendations forward to Joe and to Kelsey just to see if there's something we want to do to make sure it's staying nice and fresh and keeping it safe.
Fresh. Anything else? Also, executive director's report.
All right, well, I won't obviously go through everything, but a couple highlights is, if you are not aware, Oakland County now has a economic development grant resource, and that is Justin Wilcox, who used to be on the DDA board. He's reached out and I've partnered him or put him together with a couple of businesses downtown, and he is willing and open to talking with them about their needs and then helping them to search for grants and helping them to apply for grants. So I think that's gonna be a great resource because I am not a grant writer, so I can only help so much with that, but it's gonna be a great resource as well for us to be able to tap into and get information for our business owners. As Ashley mentioned, we were presented with our accreditation certificate at the council meeting last week, so that was exciting. And then if you have not heard, we won the big award last week at the Oakland County Main Street event. So that was very exciting. It was based on a video created to highlight Oxford community as a whole. And we had Scott and Jay, and we had another business owner from Scott's Toys, and Joe, all spoke on the video. So I'm working with OCTV. I think I'll get the link tomorrow and I can post it so people can start to watch it. But very exciting. It was the top prize, $2,000 for the community. So that's great. Very exciting about that. We also in the last month hosted the first grade groups coming through again. They stopped at the DDA office, the police station, the museum, and Sick Pizza, sorry. And they had a great time. They had popsicles in Washington Square. They walked all around. They had a really, really fun time. So we enjoy that. That's a really fun piece of our job to get to see the little one. You know, we were, do you have questions for us? Do you arrest people? Do you have a jail? Do you have a uniform? We're like, nope, that's in the police department next stop. So
Could be a recommendation.
I mean, but very fun day doing that. Also, a huge shout out to DPW and the village, of course, for all of their help with getting the downtown and the district looking the way that it does. They were so helpful in moving things, helping us find things, getting things for us, doing things for us. I mean, it's just, I can't even express how much they've helped us this year. So I wanted to get a huge shout out for that. And then, as Holly mentioned earlier, I think in the promo, we started something new this year where we're offering volunteer opportunities at the concerts and the market. We have not done that before since I've been with the organization. And we have all of the concerts and all of the markets filled with volunteers. So we're super excited about that. Getting people downtown that they can share with their friends, just to see what we do, kind of see behind the scenes, that it's maybe not quite as easy as one might think, to put on a concert, or a market, that for that matter too. So we're really pumped about that piece. Great job.
Thanks.
Really quick question, Brett?
Yeah, on the business development, we have visual merchandising, AI, and small business tax sessions. Can you give a little
Yes.
background on that?
Yep, so we're partnering with Lake Orion to try and offer training sessions to our business owners. We have the AI workshop already set for July 14th, and that'll be presented through Thrive. We have a visual merchandising one. We do have a business owner in downtown Oxford that has said she would be willing to do that. That's kind of like her side gig, outside of her, I mean, it's part of her business, but part of her side gig. But we're working to try and get her hooked up with Thrive as a consultant so she can be compensated for her time. So that's in process for that one. And then the insurance, we're having our new board member who will be presenting on that as well.
Further on the AI thing, that's July, is that a Zoom meeting or what is that?
So it'll be in person. Actually, we haven't talked about whether it'll be in Zoom as well, but I know we'll definitely have it in person. It's gonna be right here in the community room. It's a presenter that's coming in through Thrive.
And at what time of the day, Rob? I mean, I know some,
Yeah,
what's that,
9:30.
9:30?
So we'll get that, our intern Riley is working on a promo flyer for that with information on how to RSVP, and so we'll get that out this week.
And just so the board knows too, if anyone's interested, Oxford Bank has a meeting tomorrow, a Zoom meeting on AI.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you got the name here, else, anyone else got the emails? Ashley, you got it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I think it's a 7:15 or something like that, 7:30.
I don't remember. In the morning?
Both
Right
business
early.
hours.
Very good.
Unfinished business. Crosswalk project?
Yes, so I don't know if Joe wants to say anything, but I don't think we have any new news since the last meeting, other than Pete and Joe and Paul and I have been in communications around how to proceed. The feedback from MDOT, the initial piece was that they will not approve the crosswalk portion of the project. So at this point, Joe is reaching out to another contact that Oxford has worked with a little closer to see if there's any potential to reconsider that. So we're waiting to hear back on that. We're at a bit of a standstill until we hear back from that. It was offered to do a traffic study, and I think we decided that it most likely won't help our case if we do a traffic study at this point of the year. So I think we'll have to see what the feedback is from MDOT, and then we can talk about how we want to proceed with the project. We did get numbers for the project transitioning without the sidewalks, or I'm sorry, the crosswalks, and just focusing on the sidewalk repair and reconstruction in certain areas. I believe that the savings was about,
15?
What?
15 to 17,000.
17,000 savings.
It wasn't as much as we were hoping, so it's still looking at like the high 190s.
That was my question,
Yes.
is how much we would save.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions on it? The gazebo land review.
So also, I don't know if you have anything to add, but my understanding is out for bid
It's
currently.
out bid, we put it in our paper. I put it on our website, and it's on our Michigan Mitten advertising out there. What that reaches vendors and construction people all over the state. I haven't checked to see, usually you can see, plan holders, how many people look at the document and stuff. I haven't looked at, went out, last Tuesday, I think it hit. Yeah, it was Tuesday or Wednesday last week it hit. And I think it's the 30th that they're due, bids are due. I think it's 30th, instead of Monday. Couple weeks it'll be out there for bid. Rudy and I also met with one of the electricians that we're having get some pricing on for the redoing of the electrical panel in the park. You know, so it's it's upgraded for one, and more user friendly for people. Like we had an event there last week during our council chambers. The youngsters did the autism awareness event down there, and they did, of course, electricity for their mics and stuff like that. So we have to go and unlock the panel and leave it open for them to have access to the power outlets and stuff. So that's what we're trying to upgrade and get away from.
And we do that each week too with the concerts.
Yeah. So we met with the first contractor today. I have another one hopefully come by this week, not next, to see what, have give us some ideas about cost.
Okay, that's great, right?
Approximately when will this come to fruition?
The gazebo project,
Correct.
I would imagine it wouldn't happen until after concerts are over. So we have
Fall.
a window between mid-August and early October, or then after, early October.
Very good. And then 8C, the painting the blacktop for the games in Washington Square.
Yep, I just wanted to follow back up. I have two artists that have gotten back to me around painting on the blacktop, and both said that they would do it for no charge. So it would just be a cost for us to paint it. I mean, sorry, for us to pay for the paint.
Paint the spots. Very good.
So are we good to?
Yep.
Okay,
Move forward.
excellent.
Any question there? Okay, next, new business, I believe there is none.
There is none.
Okay, we didn't have any items removed from the consent agenda. Number 11 is board member comment. Start all the way down.
It's exciting, and it feels like summer finally. And we've got all these events planned, and it goes by so fast, so I know I've been trying to tell my contacts around here, my clients, really come out here and try to enjoy it, and, you know, it's nice that Summer Sundays is right there too, and that brings a lot of people in, I feel like, but really looking forward to all the events that we worked so hard for the past few months to really put on. These concerts are always, you know, always popping, so I'll try to be there myself if I can find some time.
Just open the windows.
Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you.
Happy to have you. Thank you.
Same, welcome Melissa.
Thank you.
Welcome, Melissa. Also want to let folks know, if you have the chance to go to that gala next year, you should try to make it, because it's very, very cool. And it's all different community DDAs, and they're all their different cheering groups. It's a blast. And it was an honor to be there. Thank you.
Right. No comments.
Melissa,
welcome.
Thank you all for the intro and welcoming for my first board meeting. Excited to be on this side of it. I've been on promo committee for a long time and excited for concerts in the park and the open air market and all of the wonderful things to come. So it's gonna be a fun summer. Welcome. Glad to have you. Yep. That's about it.
Hopefully, everything comes to fruition in the next month ago with dealing with MDOT and good report comes back from the gazebo bids and everything, so we can get moving on that, so looking forward to getting those underway. That'll help break things up a lot by the end of the year this year. Definitely, there's a lot of stuff coming on and the events coming up, so a lot of stuff going downtown, so any of the board members, if you get a chance to stop in on, any of the events or, the market or something, just to say hi and show your face around and everything, greatly appreciated. And I'm sure Kimberly would like to see somebody there giving you a bit of support, so. And good job with your staff, and they're obviously doing quite well and working on a lot of projects, so, very good. Extend public comment? Seeing none.
I move we adjourn.
Then move for adjourn.
Second.
I heard all the way around. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.